Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I've got my friend and a person I really admire, Donna, Seraphina. She is a wonderful, very talented, very amazing, gifted medium. And she has been working on the Sebastian Rogers case really since the absolute beginning, Donna. Really.
Right. Within a couple of weeks of seeing another YouTuber sitting there talking about Sebastian every day, I just shared it to my YouTube just to help him get the word out. And then I decided to do a reading on Sebastian.
Yeah, I was thinking about it last night. I was like, when did I become aware of Sebastian Rogers? And honestly, I think it was you that told me about that case. And you were having people, excuse me, recommend that you work on it. And then I think you gave it some deep thought, talked to Seth. And then I was like, okay, I want to look into it too. And that's when I started making phone calls like I do in pretty much every case that we cover. I always try to find out something, right?
Right.
And then we came together and we started talking about it. And we though we have been quiet for the last several months, it's been, we've both been going through our own stuff. And it's not because we didn't want to be here. It's because honestly, it turned into a big drama fest. And there's nothing.
With Sebastian?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've been hearing about it. Have you been hearing about it, Donna?
I don't listen when it starts turning to the gossip. So how I feel is every case has the same pattern. You could lay it down on every case where when there's information that comes out, a lot of YouTubers talk about the information. And then when the information dries up, there'll be a subset of YouTubers that either makes up stories that out of thin air or just gossips and tears people's lives apart. And I don't even watch that. So I did watch the Lore Lodge interview the other day. And and I just felt like I could see the devastation and despair.
Yeah.
I mean, with Seth Rogers and the father of Sebastian, and he's been looking for his son, just running himself. You could tell he's devoid of energy and just very depressed. And I just felt, I feel like crying even talking about, I identify with the sadness, and I'm very, very sorry that he's in that position. And even worse when other YouTubers make up gossip just to get clickbait, clicks and baits and this and that. Although, on the other hand, even though it's such a horrible thing, I can't even say, it's kind of sickening, but it does keep the name out there. But still, it's just, I think it goes a little over the edge when a person is truly looking for their missing child, and people are just trying to tear their lives apart. It's just uncalled for.
You're right. And there's an important point to make about all this. And that is, if Seth was such a Chester the molester, why would Katie have left her son with him in his custody every other weekend? Right? If you were truly concerned, if he was, let's say, a predator, like certain people allege, she wouldn't have trusted to have her son in his care.
And I didn't even hear about that. I heard them asking Seth how old Katie was. He said he didn't start. She was over 18 when he started going out with her.
Okay.
And I think, what is he, about 10 years older, maybe 8 years older?
I believe it. Yeah, it's substantial. Like 10 years maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I think when you're around, like my boyfriend, when I was 21 was 7 years older. I think that's pretty normal. And the fact of the matter is, what does that have to do with who murdered or, why this child is missing?
Right.
And that, to me, is the focus. But then you don't have segment after segment after segment on a daily basis unless you've got drama and gossip and hearsay. And they're really, some people, and I don't mean the YouTubers, I mean the people behind the disappearance of Sebastian, may be trying to feed out this information to divert attention away from what really matters, which is, in my opinion, seeing the mugshots of Terry Bowersox, Kathy Bowersox, Chris Proudfoot, Katie Proudfoot, and Danny Guy. I
Okay.
think I would like to see a news segment with their mugshots, but I'm not saying they did anything. I'm just saying that's what I would like out of all this. Just tearing some. Can you imagine? I would just tell you, I saw my daughter in the morgue. Her body was blue. She was beaten. She was, in fact, unrecognizable. When they first found her, they couldn't even identify her. The only way they identified her was that they found a purse with her ID like 10 feet away, and there was a tattoo. She had a small tattoo. And even then, I hung up on them, and I just said, she trusts everyone. Probably someone stole her purse. And it was either the cops or the coroner. I hung up on them and went and laid on my bed, just went into shock. And so if you imagine that Seth has been going through this just utter, Seth is a person that moved across the country and rebuilt his entire life so that he could have a relationship with his son. He's a person that has spent his days off building this relationship and taking his son on hobbies and to different things, and it's just like he's devastated. And will he even survive this? I mean, Sebastian is his life.
I know so much, and I worry about his health.
I do too.
That stress, that constant stress, it's not good for you at all.
I do too.
Sad. Well, I want to say thank you so much for everybody that's here today with Donna and I. And for those who are not familiar with Donna and I, with Donna. So how I became acquainted with her was back in 2020. There was this case. It was called the Vallow case. There were 2 missing kids out of Rexburg, Idaho. That wasn't where they were originally from, but that's where their mom had brought them. And they were missing. Nobody could figure out what had happened to these kids. So January of that year, when we knew like absolutely nothing about this case, except there was missing kids, Donna took the leap of faith, whatever you want to call it, and she decided to see what she could pick up about that case. Well, right out of the gate, you saw just how grisly, gruesome, grotesque, awful this case was, that these kids had been just dealt with in the most egregious way. Dismembered, burned, wrapped in duct tape. I mean, the whole bit. And Donna picked that up in a, hour and 9-minute clip, Donna, your first reading. And you got every single detail that ended up coming out in court. Actually, it came out when the kids were found by the FBI, like 4 or 5 months later. And then once the preliminary hearing came for Chad Daybell, that's when our heads were blown. We're like, whoa, Donna said this. She said this about the necklace. She said, I mean, every detail, unreal. She could have, I still wish there was like a Netflix series to be done on just how remarkable and bizarre that was.
It was a very shocking case. And the reality is my daughter did bring me the victims. I mean, these 4 victims were in my house. Actually, I think there's 5, but the known ones were in my house for constantly over a period of 4 months. And I mean, it was the scariest reading I ever did about that Tylee. If I saw all those visions, how shocking and the odds of someone really doing that, I would never have even uploaded it. I would have figured it was a trickster spirit or something like that. But because my daughter who is in spirit had brought Tylee to me for help, is the only reason I took that leap of faith and sent that out there. And so originally that first reading called Tylee Ryan Most Important wasn't even meant for the public. I wasn't even knowing that I was going to have this YouTube channel blow up. It was to send the link to multiple. They didn't even know what state the kids were in. So I spent the whole next day sending letters to law enforcement in multiple states. So it was the most shocking reading to that point that I had ever done.
Oh, absolutely. And you could tell while listening to it that this was probably the shock of your life to see something play out in front of your own eyes, like, because you're psychically channeling it. I bet you just couldn't believe what you even saw. And do you feel that way sort of like about the Sebastian Rogers, what you've channeled and picked up so far?
Well, on the Lori Vallow case, I actually saw demonic activity, and I had never seen that before.
Okay.
And there, I believe there was Satanism in this Summer Wells case, but I didn't see the actual demons. I just saw the people that are like worshiping Satan. But on the Lori Vallow case, like I saw a demon when they were cooking Tylee on that fire and burning her. I saw a demon go across the yard and go right into Lori.
Oh.
And I'd never seen anything like, I mean, I've done a couple thousand readings at least, and I'd never seen demonic activity. And I saw actual demonic activity in there. And it was so scary. Like, if you listen to that first reading, I actually stopped in the middle and I started praying. I was so scared. That's how scared I was. And I keep saying in there, nobody would ever do this. Nobody would ever do this, you know, and I had no idea, like, did demons hijack my reading? Like, what's going on? And I started praying, and then I continued the reading. So
yeah, and you said, I hope I'm wrong and that they're just at their grandma's house. That's what you said in the reading. And it was like the most exact, accurate, like, my mind is forever blown because of that. And that's why I trust you with these cases the way I do. And I have faith in you that you can, if anybody can figure it out, I feel like it's you. Because
yeah,
I've seen you do it before a number of times, actually.
yeah. And I don't know. I lost my train of thought.
By the way, Donna, you look so beautiful. I love your hair and just like, yeah, you look so pretty. Just like
Thank you. You know what? My hair finally grew out. It's not that it was so horrible, but I didn't want it that short. And so really I'm happy that it's finally grown out. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. So how would you like to, I'm trying to think of how we can, so for starters, as like a disclaimer, we're going to do our best to not name names, just what you saw. Is that right, Donna? Is that where?
That's what we're going to do. And also, I just want people to know, consider this on the level of a dream. These are visions.
Right.
And then I try to interpret the visions, and they're not always going to be right. I mean, if someone tells you, like one of your friends says, oh, I had this wild dream the other night, and this is what happened in my dream. Consider it that. I'm not making an accusation. I'm not suggesting anybody should do anything. I mean, I have a suggestion for any law enforcement to trace the cell phones of all the 5 people I listed for the entire night. If they took me there, I could walk up and point out where Sebastian's body was.
Yeah. You feel very confident about that, don't you?
Well, I you know, he could come walking back in, okay? Like, so there's this famous psychic, Sylvia Brem, and she was saying some child was dead. And then it turned out, no, he was with a sex offender for the last 9 months. He wasn't dead at all. And then all the media did the rest of her life, after she'd probably helped on over 1,000 cases, was bring up this. Right. Okay, so know that, yeah, on any of these children cases, I would be happy to be wrong. I would be happy for the child to come back. But I think today I'll just talk about what I saw as Good. If that's the situation, and put that disclaimer over and over and over that this is my visions we're talking about. I'm not making accusations.
Right. Yeah, that's a great disclaimer, I think, Donna.
Yeah.
It's fair to say. Okay, so first of all, first question I have for you. When was the first time you tried to pick something up about this case? Do you recall an approximate date? Something like that. Was it last March that you recall?
Oh, definitely. And I had thought I was going to do a reading with Sebastian's father, and then I meditated ahead of time. I got a couple things, And when we started talking, it was more like we ended up talking for about an hour and a half.
Okay.
So we didn't do the actual reading. Like I told him a couple of things I was picking up, and then within a couple of weeks, I did a reading for Sebastian's aunt, who is Seth's sister. I did a reading for her. And if you remember, that's the day my computer broke. And so I just had to get my cell phone and talking to my cell phone to listen to the audio and try to tell people. And I have spent several hours looking for the actual reading because sometimes there's a little bit more detail. And actually at that time, I had seen all these things. So that we're going to talk about today. I just had decided because I saw Seth saying that it was causing him trauma to hear different psychics talking about Sebastian being dead and that kind of stuff. So I decided, okay, I'll just leave all that out and try to put these clues about this location. But I am going to talk about it today. What I saw then.
And I think that's fair, Donna. Today is technically, let's see, it's the 25th, right? Let me double check that.
Yeah, tomorrow's the anniversary.
Yeah, right? Well, technically it's actually today because he was last seen on the 25th.
Oh.
And the FBI recently changed that, from what I understand, to the 25th versus the 26th. So
okay. So that's like they do the last, what's it called? Proof of life?
Proof of life, exactly. And his proof of life, I'm not sure if it was the footage at the restaurant or if it's him supposedly taking out the trash. I've heard both. I'm not 100% sure which one it is, but it was on the 25th, from what we understand.
Right. And at one of the first things I said in that original reading was that their public timeline was off.
Yes, you did. I heard that clip. I was like, oh, interesting. What does that mean? I want to tell everybody real quick while I'm thinking of it. Yesterday, I went over some of my own notes from talking to certain people, in the case and stuff. And I thought this was a little bit odd that on the day that Sebastian vanished, which was the day his mom reported him missing, which was that Monday morning, February 26th, around 6-ish something in the morning. Well, I want to let you know that the trash truck came that morning at 5:12 a.m. So these lights, these mysterious lights that we've heard about, that we've seen a video of, that they're saying were at like 3 something in the morning. Why are they captured at 5:12? Would they be in the neighborhood for 2 hours beforehand?
No, and why would we think it's a trash truck when 2 flashlights come out of the house, go up to a vehicle, cut through a neighbor's backyard, go to a vehicle, and only 1 flashlight goes back to the house?
Thank you. And I feel like they're trying to play us for stupid right now by insisting that that's of no significance. I think it's significant.
It's huge. It's huge. There's a good chance that that's when Sebastian was handed off.
That's what I mean.
You know what I'm saying? And then it would be the 26th, which was the anniversary of
the divorce, I think.
The divorce that Katie Proudfoot had with Sebastian. So the odds of the child she had with Sebastian going missing on that particular day are 1 in 365. Right. Jeez, who picked the day? Like, they really thought that this would never get out of just her stabbing Sebastian in the heart.
Right.
Essentially, emotionally. Right. Come on.
I know. Yeah, absolutely. And there was one more thing that I saw in my notes when I was reviewing them, and that was that the night of the 25th, so that Sunday night, the window in the dining room was left open. Why would anybody leave a window open in like 30-degree weather?
Yeah, that makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
Not unless you left it open so someone could come in.
See, that's where my brain went too, honestly, Don.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
I don't know either.
I shared that while it was fresh in my mind because I thought it was so odd. I'm like, this is weird. It's funny. You can look at the same details over and over, but as you learn new information, stuff starts kind of getting highlighted. Like, oh, that's curious. That's weird. And that's kind of where I'm at with these details, really. Anyway, so where you want to go ahead and we'll start with.
We could you want to start with these with the clues, or do you want to start with Chris Proudfoot's statements? Or I mean, Chris Proudfoot has made a lot of statements in the last year that are pretty weird. But we could do that after, or do you want to do the clues first? What do you want to do?
Good question. Let's do, you know what? Okay, let's start with the clues and then we can go into the other stuff.
Okay.
Is
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So I did the one main reading about Sebastian, and then there was other times where I meditated, and there would be like 5 minutes about Sebastian, and then it's other, like I'm connecting with the spirits and praying for people and this, that, or I might pick up a little about one case and a little. And so I went through this weekend, I went through all these little clips, and I made a chart of the clues and kind of how many times they come up. Because for me, it's like, if they show me something over and over and over, then I know it's an integral part of the case.
Right.
If I only see it once, it's like, because there was one clue, and then I realized, you know what, I think that was the young man who fell in the river over there in Louisiana. That was going on at the same time when Sebastian first went missing. Okay. And so I had like 5 minutes of him and five. So I think one of the clues that I might have put on here was for that. But other than that, they're all about Sebastian.
Okay.
Okay. So I want to say that when you think of a conspiracy, usually each person has a motive for that conspiracy, right? And there's a whole lot of motives surrounding this family, as far as the custody fight, the potential CPS interview of Sebastian coming up, where if it came out that how badly he was treated, that they might lose complete custody of Faith, you know, the beatings, the humiliation, the having him sleep in the garage, the, you know, treating him like an animal and feeling free to harm him physically. If CPS interviewed him, that could really affect any kind of visitation. And both, you know, Chris and his mother wanted custody. So,
of Faith. Yes. Yeah.
So they all have a motivation. Although I'm not saying they did it, I'm just saying, you know, if we're looking at all the people surrounding Sebastian.
Right. And Donna, real quick, do you really think they made him sleep in the garage? Did you see anything indicative of that? Or
no, not in my reading. In fact, another disclaimer I should put is there was a little girl missing in Texas. Remember Audrey?
Yes.
Okay. And what happened when I did a reading for Audrey, which I never uploaded, it's like all of a sudden I'm like, I need to throw up.
I remember this. Yeah.
What happened was her coloring, not her face, but her coloring looks so much like my daughter. It's so rare. It's that milky white skin with kind of almost white hair. And so when I was seeing this little 5-year-old murdered in something that should never have happened, I actually lost it for a couple of days. I was bawling my head off. And I was praying to God to never let me see another child murdered and stuff like that. I mean, I was praying for not to see. And then Sebastian happened. So I skipped the part at the house. Oh, no, I did see something at the house. I did see abuse at the house. But, do you know, I have to say, taking care of an autistic child can be very challenging. Yeah. My friend who lived across the street from me for many years, her son was autistic and she loved him very much, but there are challenges. Like my son's friend went to the park a couple times. I mean, my friend's son, the autistic young man, he went to the park a couple times and took off his clothes.
Yes.
You know, so the police brought him home. So, you know, there are challenges and stress. And I actually saw some of that going on in the house. So if you took Chris out of it, even like I kind of saw one time Sebastian grabbed Katie and then Katie was like hitting it, but it was self-defense in a way.
Okay.
You know, it was her trying to get him off. So, and I don't know when that was in relationship to all this. It could be that they were just kind of showing me that situation. So they all had a reason why they were stressed out. Like Seth said on that Lore Lodge interview that that Chris and Katie were talking about sending Sebastian to a group home. And so it does indicate, though, that they wanted him out of their house. And then Seth thought he couldn't take him for another few months to get everything ready and switch. But then there was another interview with Chris where it was Chris and Seth. And Seth is sitting there saying, I was going to have him come live with me. And then Chris, his eyes get big. Like, look at the body language. His eyes get big. Yeah. And he says, why didn't you tell us? Like, I mean, he just showed his hand right there. And, oh, okay, so then that would have made a difference then. Okay, so then you're saying you might know something. Like, it's kind of that situation. And again, I'm not accusing anybody, but.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you picked up, though, that there was definitely contention in the home. There was a lot of struggles, a lot of trying to figure out what's next because this is not going to work out, right?
Well, I didn't get the whole it was not going to work out thing, but I did see a scuffle with Kate. And, you know, it could have happened. I mean, if she said, oh, hey, these people are coming to pick you up tonight, you're going to need to go. And then he could have got upset. I don't know. I just saw a scuffle and I saw her hit him, but it wasn't her going up and abusing him. It was her defending herself, really.
Interesting. Okay.
And so I saw a it looked to me in my vision. So you have to understand how they look. It's almost like if you were on a foggy night, you were seeing things that were kind of translucent. You're like in this 3D world, but it looks different. It's not the physical world, and it's not Skype. It's not a movie where you get to choose everything. It's just they show you what they think is important. And there's a dark, it looked like dark green pickup truck with one of these racks on it that you put when you're like cleaning pools or you're doing construction and stuff like that. And it seemed to be connected to the place they brought him to. Like, I'm like, does this person own this property? Like, I didn't know, but it's like, okay. And then sometimes you get clues and it's more like a wondering feeling. And other times you're like standing in the middle of it. And you're like, oh no, I know this is what happened.
Like where it's very clear. Yeah.
Well, it's 3D and you're standing there watching it.
I see.
And then there's other times where you might just see something and wonder something. So there's kind of levels of how much on each clue might have a different level of seriousness. But Sebastian was brought somewhere.
Okay.
And what I saw was, should I go down the clues or should I just
say? Please. That would be great. And then I could maybe further ask questions as you do that.
Okay. So I live in California, which the houses are 4 feet apart, sometimes 6 feet if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And then when I see these other areas and I'm like, oh, wow, that's out in the boonies. Well, it might not be. It might just be that's because they have big yards there and there's a lot of trees and this and that. Because like at one time I was saying he's not that far from the house, but other times I'm saying it's like it feels like a rural area or like, you know, so there's a lot of trees and stuff. But he was brought to a place, and in the background, I'm not saying whether it's in the mountains or not because I'm not 100% sure. But it's like, if you were looking at the house and then you looked behind the house, in the distance, you would see mountains. And then off to the right of the house, you would see mountains. And then there's a curve going to the house. They brought him to a curve, and the house is on the curve and it's facing sideways to the road. And so I did see that. And so I know that that's going to be true if they ever solve this.
Gotcha.
Let's see. On my notes, I wrote the house seemed to be about 3/4 of the way up the hill or mountain. So maybe even in the foothills. I was seeing, so then they show me things. And if you haven't seen the readings before, anything, it's almost all visions. It's like all these visions. Sometimes I hear words. Sometimes I'll feel a word. But these visions, so I see a ridge, right? It could be a flat place where the name in the street is Ridge.
Yeah.
Or the name in the housing development is Ridge. So you have to take a clue and just keep it on this list and look at it like when you see the place, you'll know that that's there. But they did show me the ridge all over and over. So I'm seeing a mountain ridge. Is it literal? I'm not 100% sure. And let's say, remember I kept seeing the sky?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kept seeing the sky. And was Chris working?
Do you think that's an important, like,
oh, it's super important.
For the word, maybe? The word
it could be the word sky.
Okay.
And it also could be, they kept showing me at the top of the house. I saw the ridge in the background. I saw a chimney with smoke coming out. Okay. And I didn't say it the first two times they showed it to me. And then the third time they showed it to me again. And I'm like, they're also trying to show me this chimney, right? And then a bunch of people say there's chimney top mountains. Okay. And I'm not saying he was brought there. It's like, I would have to be there and stand there and look around to see how far that those mountains are to be able to place the house and identify it. But I really feel like these people that did this did not expect for this to blow up like this. They did not expect that. So it's likely that some of them probably had their cell phone. And if the police or the FBI were to look at where their cell phones were the entire night, it's pretty likely that they would be able to find Sebastian.
Okay. Interesting.
So then I kept hearing, remember Danny O. And remember, this is in March. I didn't know any of the characters at this time.
Nina hadn't come out yet, had she?
No, nobody had. He had only been missing a couple of weeks, and one other YouTuber had picked it up. Okay. And so I'd never heard that name before.
Okay.
And, but I mean, they didn't show me him doing anything. It just, they were giving me the name.
Gotcha.
They were also giving me custom woodworking, which is what that person does for a living, surprisingly. And they were, and it was like the biggest chills of the reading I wrote. That man does woodworking, custom woodworking. Then they also showed me a man who, remember, first they showed me a man eating a corn cob. Yeah. And then they showed me the corn cob stuck to his tooth. And then they showed me it turn into popcorn. And I'm like, what the heck is going on with this guy's tooth? Something's going on with the front tooth of this man. And that is one of the men that I saw in my vision, which could be wrong, but I saw him beating Sebastian. They killed him. And let's see, we'll get to that.
Okay.
So I saw the smoke in the chimney. I talked about that. That Sebastian had been injured. Somehow in the transport, his arm was injured. So I don't know if, like, at some point, if they find a skeleton, if it'll have a broken arm, or I don't know. I don't know that it will, but there was something there.
Okay.
I saw Sebastian then, and, at the time I'm like, is this a barn or what? But we were inside of it, so I don't know what it was. It could be a train, those big boxes they buy from trains to use as a shack or a shed or whatever, storage shed. It could be a barn, could be any kind of little outbuilding. I don't know. It just felt like we weren't inside the house. It felt like we were there, and he was made to go in there. I am sorry to say that repeatedly in here I say he was dead within hours of being brought there. It didn't go on for too long. It was, maybe 2 or 3 hours he was dead. And one man, I think there was at least, I know for sure there was more than one man.
Okay.
So there was at least 2 and maybe 3 men that I saw, but I only saw one of them's face, and that's the one with the tooth. Mm-hmm. Right. And so the other ones I didn't see, but one of them went up. So Sebastian was like crouched in the corner, and he went up to Sebastian and started punching him.
Oh.
And then he was trying to like say stuff like to fight back. Sebastian never fought back.
Yeah.
And he was punching him over and over and over. And then at some point he grabbed him like this in this kind of stranglehold, like wrestler hold like that, which you can knock somebody out, but they didn't. Right. At some point I see him dragged outside, of that little outbuilding and hit in the back of the head with a shovel. And I saw him. I'm so sorry, Seth, if you're listening to this. I'm really sorry. But I think the police need to know, and the focus really needs to be on getting these people arrested and put on trial for murder.
Yeah.
So, and I saw him hit in the back of the head with a 2x4.
Oh my God.
And then I don't know how it happened, but I don't know if they told him to run. Like, you could run to there. But there was like, I don't know how that happened, because it's like, then I'm just seeing it happen. That, so he's like trying to get his way through some wooded area, Sebastian is.
Yeah.
But then he makes it, I don't know how far he makes it, probably not more than 50 feet at the most. But then he was disoriented feeling and he collapsed, okay?
Okay.
And I don't know if they went up and did something else to him to further cause his death, because I didn't see his actual death, because that's what I was praying for God to not let me see.
Yes.
And then they took his clothes off, and they wrapped him either in a tarp or a huge, like, say if you had an empty mattress bag or something. And I'm not saying that it was a mattress bag. I'm just saying some big, huge, clear plastic, or else a tarp. It was like they rolled his body up. Oh no, it was in a fetal position. They put it in a fetal position, and they burned his clothes. So I saw the several men. They burned his clothes after, so he will be found without clothes. And then the female, I saw the man with the tooth. He went into the house at some point during all this, and the female who was there, who had brunette hair, he was talking to her, but I didn't really pick up what they were saying, but just that she was present on the property during the murder, and she had no problem with it.
God, this is like a level of extreme.
It's pure evil.
It's evil.
It's pure evil. It's inexcusable.
Yeah.
And I'm just reminded of the Bible verse that says that people who harm children should have some kind of big stone put around their neck and put in the water. Like, literally, that's what the Bible says.
Yeah.
Harming children. And again, you know what? They could find Sebastian. He could be fine. This is just my vision. But it's like, it makes me sick. It's just, this is what I saw. And I just wanted to spare Seth, and hope to be wrong, and hope that he would turn up and they would find him. And this is just my visions.
Right. And I want to say real quick that you waited an entire year to give these details. And to me, I really respect that, because you could have said this back in April if you really wanted to, but you were trying to spare Seth and keep his hopes up that he would find him.
Yeah.
In the same way you knew what happened to JJ, Tylee, Gabby Petito. I mean, all these cases.
Yeah. And so at the time with Tylee, I wasn't even planning on the public seeing my video. And I know that I might have caused trauma to people without intending to. And I'm trying to be more careful about that.
I know. And we appreciate what you do, Donna. Seriously. I know you're trying. Yeah. And there's going to be people that are going to pick this apart and say, oh, they're such bullshitters. Look at them. I can see it now.
I don't even care what they say.
I don't care either. How many cases you've been right about, Donna? I mean, let's stack them.
And I don't even care about anyone that wants to sit there and just be some kind of like worm in the mud that wants to be negative and have a YouTube channel that's based on attacking other people. And I mean, you think of like when your life is over and you're, say, on the astral plane, there's all kinds of slithering creatures and humans that are afraid to have their judgment, who slither around in the mud. And the people that do that on YouTube, that's how I see them. And it's just like, if I was walking down the street and some little rabid worm kind of went, that's kind of what I think about people insulting me. Yeah. Really. I'm trying to put out information that could potentially help a kid. And I'm sure that, because I could write letter. But if
Yeah.
the one cop who gets that letter doesn't believe in psychics, that's going to get
Exactly.
deleted. But there
And
might be
people
other
always,
cops with an open mind,
yeah.
you know, that want to solve it, and they could hear the clues. That's
Yeah.
my logic. That's my logic in all this.
Yeah, Donna, I want to show you on the screen right now. Remember Ernie Shell from the Someone
Oh
Like?
yeah, yeah.
He's saying even the TBI said this woman's credibility was real. Yeah.
Oh, the TBI did. That's
Yeah.
nice of them.
Yeah. I mean,
Because
how can you
in the
can't,
Dulce Alaves case up there in New Jersey,
yeah.
in the reading I did for her mother,
Yeah.
I said in 6 years, this guy is going to get hungry and want to kill another kid, right? But then I didn't ever upload the second reading because there wasn't that much interest in the first reading. But in Dulce Alaves, a missing 5-year-old Mexican immigrant from New Jersey, I did a second reading. And then it had gone down to 3 years
Okay.
that they were showing me. So maybe because the heat was off, it was going to be sooner. And do you know that just very close to where Dulce went missing, this little 5-year-old, somebody just tried to kidnap a 10-year-old.
And this is in New Jersey, Donna?
Another child will die. And the cop involved not only would not talk to me, says he threw my letters away as soon as he realized I was a psychic. Even Dulce's neighbor went in and talked to the police chief who ordered him to talk to me. And he said he'd rather be fired than talk to a psychic.
Yes,
So,
they've dealt with me like that too when I've called to give tips that I felt really mattered from your readings. A lot of times they just treat me horribly. But it's always interesting when what I tell them that's straight from you, and then they're like, okay, keep going. Like it's registering, right? Something.
yeah. And I really appreciate Detective Ball took you seriously when you
Yes, he
called
did.
that time.
He did.
So some cops do and some cops don't. So the point is of uploading a reading is, and there's sleuthers that, I mean, the cops have a certain amount of time every day, you know, and they have multiple cases that they can't just, 80 hours a week, but there's thousands of people out there willing to research clues, which is even better. So I do think it is worth putting it out public, and then whether it's TBI, FBI, and then also they don't have to acknowledge me that they ever talked to me, because maybe they don't want to talk to me because they're afraid of being tricked and recorded and put on YouTube, and I can totally understand that. But it's scary when you think someone else will be murdered.
I
in a case.
agree. Here's
Now
one more. Oh, sorry, Donna, not to interrupt. I'm sorry.
Oh no,
I
you
wanted
go
to
ahead.
I want to tell you what else Ernie Shell said. He said, yes, they told me that you were right on a lot, and the statistics add up. Candace told me about Summer. Whoa.
Oh, Candace told him? I wonder what he said. Is he
I would
on
like
here?
to know, I would like to know more, Ernie. Wow, you should make another video.
Yeah, Ernie, I want to hear what
Or call
they told you
Donna.
about Candace. Yeah, you could call me. I mean, you could email me and give me your number and I'll call you.
Wow.
For sure, Ernie, I want to talk to you, definitely. And I could give you any information I have, because there's a lot I've held back, of course.
Yeah.
So even how horrible these all are, there's always information I know that's too dangerous or too even more violent. Like, that's another thing that really bothers me is when people kill. I mean, I see the predators, that's part of what they enjoy, is causing pain and trauma. It turns them on, right? But a family member, a mom or dad, somebody who tries to kill their own kid, why make them suffer like that? Why not just overdose them? Like, and I'm not advocating for it, but like, why did Lori Vallow do such atrocious things to her children? Was that really necessary if you just wanted to get rid of them? So I just think it, and with Sebastian, this is what I wrote. Okay. Sebastian was injured before even arriving at this location with an injury to his arm, which seems significant. Sebastian was severely beaten and put into a chokehold. The person doing it, listen to this.
Okay.
The person doing it had a personal gratification in it, enjoyed doing it, and said, your mom can't protect you now. Sebastian was not fighting back. So that indicates to me it was a person who had a personal relationship with Sebastian.
Wow.
know.
Jeez.
And I saw him have what would be blunt force trauma, both with a shovel to the back of the head and what looked like could be a 2x4 or something of that nature hitting the head. I saw him running through a wooded area, feeling disoriented and dropping to the ground. He was wrapped in a large bag or tarp and buried in a fetal position in the ground. So if they were using sonar, I guess that kind of thing is important. He would be in a fetal position, so it would be like a ball they were kind of looking for, rather than a long thing like that.
Okay.
I saw them burn his clothing after the murder.
Yep.
And then I saw a garden box, but I didn't see him put in there, right? I saw a raised flower bed. It's just like I wondered. I like had this ominous feeling about it. I wondered.
Mm-hmm.
But also another time I saw him buried under the very corner of a building. And so it says, I'm unsure as to which, if either or both are correct. So both could be, like if they were looking, they would want to look both places. You know, if he wasn't moved at some point, he could have been put there and then moved to a corner. Like, I don't know. The place he was taken to where he was murdered at. And again, I'm saying he was murdered, but officially there's been no statement like that. And again, I'm talking about my vision, my dream, and it could be wrong. So Sebastian could come walking back in. Don't get mad at me. I'll be glad if that happens. Consider it on the level of a dream if you want.
Right.
But in my vision, it appeared to be a ranch-style home or dwelling. Could have even been prefab mobile home, but I think it was like an older house. It wasn't these nice, big, nice brick ones that these guys have.
Okay.
And then I was getting clues. So I was seeing honeysuckle flowers, right?
Yeah.
After that, I was seeing honeysuckle flowers all around a mailbox, like a decoration. Now that's the kind of thing where I say visions are like charades. So if you imagine what I'm doing, it's like, sitting there playing charades. Everyone's played charades at Christmas, right? And one person's up there trying not to use words and to show you. Really doing some of these readings is like playing charades. So after that, people are like, did you know the street behind their house is named Honeysuckle?
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
And it could be that that's important, or, you know, it could be something else. It could be that there's actual honeysuckle flowers around the mailbox. Like, that's the thing you don't know until you're kind of like either in the area driving around, or you're you keep an open mind on that.
Like it's subject to interpretation, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Like, and if somebody has, and a lot of people have psychic ability. So if somebody has psychic ability, listen to what they say they see, and then listen to how they interpret it. And if you were sleuthing any psychic, if you were sleuthing it, you might want to take a piece of paper and literally like draw a line down the middle of the paper and say what they saw, how they interpret it, maybe a third line that says other possible interpretations. That would be the way to work on a psychic investigation.
Gotcha.
So I saw that the dwelling was on a curved road. Okay. So it wasn't a straight road. And to do with that too, I also saw like if you made a Z and you stretched out the Z, so it's not exactly a Z, it's like stretched out and then curved it off, it's like that road. It's like this. On the way there, not right at the house. The house was on a curve, but on the way there, it's like that.
Okay.
And then up ahead from the house, there was either a gas station or other type of business. I don't know how far ahead, but because at first I was going, boy, this is out in the boonies. But of course, remember, I'm in California where you have no privacy from your neighbors. And I thought, oh, God, this is like the middle of nowhere or whatever. But up ahead, there was a business, and I thought it was a gas station.
And I want to say real quick, it seems like you zeroed in on a gas station a few times. Is that right, Donna?
Yeah. They've showed me a gas station a few times.
Okay.
And then I go back to the murder again, and I'm saying, saw one of the men involved in what I saw to be a brutal murder. Yeah. The man was punching Sebastian over and over and was a hands-on part of the murder. Now, that wasn't necessary. Mm-hmm. You know, that was just cruel.
Overkill. Yeah.
Well, it was cruel.
Yeah. Right.
You want to get rid of your autistic kid.
Yeah.
You want this person eliminated. Is it really necessary to torture them ahead of time? Like,
Exactly.
okay, so I saw again one man put Sebastian in a headlock, and so if these are my visions, if they're correct. One man put Sebastian in a headlock. The defining characteristic of this man was that his front tooth jutted out.
Like, okay.
I first saw a man eating a corn cob, then a piece of corn stuck on his tooth, then a piece of popcorn, and I just knew there was an issue with one of his two front teeth. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know the characters in this case or anything at this point. I just knew about this man looking for his kid. This man was active and present during the entire murder. I saw Sebastian running through a wooded area, become disoriented, fall to the ground. His clothing was taken and burned. Sebastian was wrapped in clear plastic or plastic tarp and buried in a fetal position.
Yeah.
A female was also present on the property during the murder, but she stayed in the house. At one point, the popcorn tooth man went inside and talked to her.
Do you recall what they talked about? Could you hear that?
They didn't. They just, I think they wanted me to know she was there. Because all I saw was them talking. Okay. She didn't seem to have any problem with what was going on at all. It was more like plotting type of stuff. But I didn't hear the conversation.
Okay.
And then here I write, I cannot remember, but she was going to leave, or they were conversing about something related to what was going on. The woman had zero problem whatsoever with what occurred. Then the woman had brunette hair, so it wasn't Katie Proudfoot there at the moment. Okay. And then remember, I saw the little girl about 7 or 8, and see, at that time, I was under the impression that this Faith child was 5, but people wrote to me and said, oh no, Faith is 7 or 8. However, there's other little relatives that fit that description too. But I saw a little brunette girl, just that she might be a witness to something. Like, I'm not positive. It's like, okay, this is another thing on these readings. It's like a foreign language. So they'll show me opacity. So some things are stronger in opacity and some things are weaker. And that means she could have been there at a different time. She could have been privy to something. She could have seen something. But she's some sort of witness. I just don't know. And so I'm not saying that the little girl was there during that, but she could have been, or else she knows something.
Okay. That's funny that you mentioned this, because I was just about to say, Donna, I think I remember you talking about a little girl, and then you came right out and said it. So you answered my question before I had to ask you.
Yeah. And then I saw an Allen wrench, whatever that is, and I don't remember. It could be a shape or a name. So you could look at names, Allen, or streets. It could be names, person, place, thing, business, or it could be just the shape of. And the very dark green truck flashed again after the Allen wrench. So I think that's noticeable just to keep in mind. So it really is. It's not the same as the physical world. It is really interpreting. You could have psychic abilities, but then you also got to interpret these clues, and it is really a foreign language. And when people have these abilities, that's where they'll be wrong. So that's what I said is, like, if you're listening to someone saying, okay, she's seeing this, and then what else could it mean too?
For sure.
Okay, so I was shown the sky above the house several times before I mentioned it. And that tells me there may be a name like sky, or some other way they're trying to get me to look at the sky. But when I do look, then I see this chimney with smoke coming out, right? So smoky mountains or chimney top mountains. But I'm seeing from this house, I'm seeing mountains in the distance. So is this in the foothills? Is this in the mountains? Or is this in the flatland town where you can see, but then you'll kind of know that you're at the right place because back in the distance you see the mountains, and off to the right side of, like, if the house is sideways to the road and it's on a curve, and say you're looking at that sideways thing from the street, back behind there you'll see some mountains, and to the right you'll see some mountains.
Okay, gotcha.
And that clue might only help law enforcement if they listen. Only if they, if they already know a place and then see all these other things, then it'd be like, whoa, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So then I saw that mailbox with the honeysuckles. And then in the front yard of the property, I saw an old tractor parked.
Tractor part. Interesting. Okay.
And I don't know the years of tractors, but I think 1930s, 40s, 50s, the super old, like it's a decoration. The interesting thing is about a mile away, if you go down Honeysuckle and then you go take a left and you go down there about a mile away on the corner on Google Earth, you see somebody has an old tractor.
Yeah. Okay.
On the corner of the property. Okay. And then you also see this place called Honeysuckle RV Park that also has an old tractor in there.
Is trippy.
Let me see. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, for some reason, you're always hitting on a certain industry that's tied to Mr. Popcorn Tooth, which is the RV industry.
Correct.
That's bizarre. And
also, one thing I've noticed you got to beware is in different parts of the country, different things are popular. How many people, what if half the people with big, acreage put an old tractor, like that's a style of thing to do, because like in the Suzanne Morphew case, I was like, I'm getting a ghost town. Well, everywhere's a ghost town. There around where they found her body is a ghost town, and where she died even is a ghost town. But so what I'm saying is, you just have to keep that in mind when you're looking that a lot of people might do that, and just because somebody has a tractor in the yard doesn't.
Sure. Okay.
Steadfast. Okay, then this word comes in. So sometimes words come in, right? And steadfast, I've never heard of that. Well, I did look it up, and there is a Steadfast RV repair. And I did look up the person on their blog. They were actually out of town the entire month of February.
Interesting.
They were gone. I don't know if they have I looked up their house, does not look like what I saw at all.
Okay.
And I don't want anybody to look them up and bother them, but I wondered, do they have other property that somebody might know about, or something like that? Or is it more than that? Like someone named that repair service, but maybe there's other RV related things that are steadfast. Okay. All I saw was a bumper sticker on the side of a truck that said steadfast. That's how they gave me that word. And I don't know, I don't know any more about it. I did go as far as trying to track it down, though. Okay. So again, at least 2 men, possibly 3, were there for the murder, the beating and murder of Sebastian, if my visions are correct. Now, the word Maplewood or something Maplewood is a big clue. This Maplewood is in almost every little clip I have. Mm-hmm. This one is not to be dismissed, and this is the only thing I could not figure out what's going on. And I seem to see it in a conjunction with a flower box. Like they show me a flower box, then I get Maplewood. Okay. And I looked it up, and I only find in Nashville maple stuff. But there's things that you don't see, you can't find on Google Earth. That's the thing. There could be a housing development, or it could be that someone used some neighborhood where they always used Maplewood trim when they built the houses 50 years ago or something like that. I don't know, but that Maplewood is a clue. It's a clue I have not been able to apply to anything.
It's an important one. It sounds like
it is
important. Okay.
It is. It is important. And then I was getting Danny Boy, Danny-O, Danello, and I don't know what that it was. And I'll just leave it at that.
Right.
And then let's see. Oh, during this reading, I felt compelled to say there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah, I remember that, which was not something you would ever say. By the way.
I've never said that in my life. I would never use a term like that, talking about killing an animal. So maybe one of the people who uses that term, I don't know.
Ah, interesting.
But that was weird. And someone wrote in, how could you talk that way? I felt compelled to say that,
Right.
And then I saw the beating again. I saw the ridge again. I saw the Maplewood again. So they showed me over and over. And then at some point I'm talking about a shape of a lake that like if you made an L and you were trying to find something, not in the lake, like if the fingers were water, it could be like right here or something where they buried them. But okay, so in the West Coast, all the lakes are either round or oval. They're not jagged. But here in Tennessee, if you look at the map, it's like these long bodies of water, and the whole thing is these things that do that. So it's not, that's not going to help you try to find them. It's just something to keep in mind.
Okay. Real quick, I didn't know this, but I had seen a clip this morning about the upcoming interview that Katie did that's supposed to air sometime today. And in the news clip I saw, they call that area by Katie and Chris's house, they call it Shekel Island, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Does that, maybe you should look at it sometime like on images and see if that does,
yeah,
anything familiar. But I also want to clarify real quick, because I know there's been criticism before in the past, like, oh, well, she looks at Google and blah, blah. It's like, yeah, because she sees these images in her mind and she tries to figure out what is she even looking at. Is that, you want to explain that for a minute, Donna?
Sure. My process, if I'm going to do a case, is if someone contacts me, then I don't have to do that. Often, if I'm interested to do a case, I'll have a feeling like the police are going to solve this within a couple days. So, like, I don't need to do it. Yeah. So remember a couple of years ago, the little 5-year-old that was kidnapped out of her driveway by the UPS driver?
Yes. That was so cool.
I had been contacted by the mother's neighbor to do a reading, like almost immediately. And I said, I am willing to do a reading if she wants me to, but the police are going to find her within a couple days. She's by the side of the road on a ditch not that far away. I told her that. And I didn't feel like I needed to do a reading because it is traumatic to go into that energy and see that. I knew they were going to find her. Other times I'll have this feeling like they're alive, like with this Hannah Kobiaski. It's like I knew she was. Remember, I told you I could do a reading, but I feel like she's alive, right? Because it's like there's no emptiness, there's no pool. It's like, and then other times I'm like, oh my God, I need to do something because they might not find her, or they might not find the person, or something like that. And so, say on the Idaho 4 case, it came on my home stream. I don't watch regular network television, but it came on my home stream. So I clicked on the article just to see how far they were in solving it, or if there was something they needed to know or whatever. And then I just went to my room and started praying. So I try to know, actually it works better. Mediumship works better the less you know.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it really does, because it's when you see these things, it's not, people have imagination that could be similar. And the more gunk you put in it, which might not even be accurate, like the mainstream media is not accurate. You can't trust that. And it's better not to cloud your visions, and it's better not to influence your vision. So I try to do at least one reading tapped in where I know very little. That's what I do. And then after I do that reading, with that information, I will then look around on social media, in Facebook groups or whatever, to see if I can confirm 2 or 3 things, because the spirits will give me information that's already out there, but that I just didn't know. And so it doesn't matter if anyone believes that or not. It's irrelevant. What it tells me is, okay, I'm tapped in. That's a good read. And then I feel comfortable to put it up. I also have done reads on cases that when I sense it's a self-done, that I don't put up, like Nicole Bully and stuff like that. And the lady who immolated herself and stuff like that. I don't put those ones up.
Right.
Because I don't want people to go to that place,
Yes.
So then, because I have a criminal justice background and I'm very interested in criminal psychology and investigations, not just mediumship, I am interested in that. I will then begin looking for what these clues might apply to.
Right.
But like I said, the first reading I try to do clean with no information. And some people, when they say, don't you know this is going on? Haven't you heard this? And it's like, no, I try not to know too much.
Right.
Because if I do another reading, I want to be some clarity in my own mind where I'm not trying to fit things together and I'm not trying to be influenced by what's out there in the public domain.
Yeah, and I've noticed that too. Like a lot of times there'll be some big information that's come out, and then I'll try to talk to you about it, and you're like, "Oh no, what's going on?" Like you don't have the time. You're just doing your own thing. And I think people need to understand that what you pick up most of the time, it seems like it's psychically.
Yeah, and I'm helping other people. Like I guess Alex Kruk is a missing young man. I've talked to his sister several times. I did a reading for her. I've talked to other families of victims that have contacted me. And part of it is of not putting it up is I just am not that great at making videos. You know, I feel kind of embarrassed like a kindergartner. So I'm just like, I just do readings for people, you know.
Which helps a lot, I think.
Yeah, helps them. And I'm willing to try it. So like, if you guys are out there and there's a case that's caught your attention, you can give them my email address and I might be able to help them. And I would put up more, like if I had a person that did all that I just did the reading and they could deal with it, I would do that.
That's what we need to find for you, Donna, is the right staff to help with that part.
Yeah.
Because if we could make your life easier, do you think you could be more active on YouTube if you had more help?
Yeah. So I had planned with the Tylee Ryan case, obviously I earned the reward. I had planned on taking that money, renting an office and trying to get people in there to make a team. Yeah. But that did not work out. So it's just me. And I also, like I said, I'm doing readings, but I'm just not that technical. I mean, you see me panicking. I'm like panicking. I'm trying to do my own live streams and just panicking and at the technical part. You know, it's not being in front of people that bothers me. It's the technical.
It's all the other stuff. It's like a 3-ring circus for me. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. And well, with the computer programs, you either know them or you don't.
Yes.
Like I want to take some free classes and learn how to make videos and stuff.
Oh, me too.
Let's see. Yeah, it's beating Maplewood, the shape. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else. Here it says, I've seen this flashing in many of these recordings from my notes. I cannot see where this particular reading is. However, my notes state, and I've seen this in multiple readings, I see Sebastian folding his arms. He's angry about something. He's stomping or going up a street. He's diverting into some wooded area, and he's being disoriented and falling to the ground. Now, I don't know how that fits in with the beating and stuff. I don't. I think later we might find out more, but I think there's probably a lot of information held back.
Yeah, and I want to say real quick, from my experience on following the work you do, I feel like you always pick up information that happened preceding the killing part. Like you always pick up this background detail that's always very interesting. So I wonder if where you're saying he's really mad, he's got his arms crossed, he's really angry. Like I wonder if that was a fight like 24 hours before. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, and am I seeing it blending? There's another thing called blending. Okay. So sometimes you might see flashes of different things. And sometimes they're doing that to show you how they go together, but it can also be confusing. And that's where I spent 5 hours, you guys. I spent 5 hours on 3 different days looking for the original reading because I haven't even heard it other than the first night when I uploaded what the audio said because my computer was broken. Like, there's always little clues and things matter in trying to interpret a reading because it's the order. It's like if they show me the same thing over and over again in like a triangular pattern, I know all these things are connected. Right. And there's been a few comments like some people will go, why do you repeat yourself? Why do you do this? And well, that's the reason they show me. So it's like even in the Tylee Ryan one, I didn't know. First, I start the reading with Tylee, and then all of a sudden, there's this man there. I didn't even know they knew each other. It's like, there's this man. And there are hitchhiker spirits who will try to come in sometimes. So it's like, and he's going like, I've been shot, like he's holding his stomach or holding his chest or like, and I'm like,
Charles. Charles.
Yeah, yeah, and I never heard of Charles Vallow at that point. I had just seen the missing person of Tylee, and I'm like, who the heck is this guy? And he won't shut up. He just keeps talking, and I'm trying to talk to the girl. And I literally told the man to shut up. And I said, listen, I'm talking to this teenage girl. I'm trying to help her. And when she's done, if you want my help, I'll listen to you. Right? That's how I was. So it's like halfway through, finally he gets a turn, he's singing, but then all of a sudden they start swirling all these murders together into like a knot, into a jumbled knot. Yeah. And so it's like, I applied, like I see someone come in the house and get shot and fall to the ground, and I'm still thinking this is all about Tylee. And it's like, and I even told the guy I didn't trust him. Like, I'm like, I'm going to look this up after. And if what you're telling me, if I can verify what you're telling me, then I'll make it public. And this is Charles Vallow I was talking about. So after the reading, then I'm looking up and I'm like, oh my God, there's like this ex-husband that's dead too. And then when the news showed, it was like there was multiple things in my reading that matched what he told me. And one was the black and white floor in the house they were renting. And that's an example of how they'll show me little things that might not matter to other people, but that tell me, yes, I'm connected correctly. I'm getting accurate information, and it's solid enough to put out there.
Yes, 100%. As a matter of fact, now that you talk about that reading, I'm pretty sure that I heard that around the same time I heard your main reading, the first one done about JJ and Tylee. I think I clicked on that next because I had to click out of the first one. It was too gruesome. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This lady's a nut. And then I went to your next one, and I'm hearing about the black and white tile. I'm like, that's weird because, there was something reminiscent.
About 2 weeks after I put that up, they released some body cam, and it showed the body cam of the police going in there, and there was black and white tile. Right. And so I was like, that's good.
Yeah. I totally forgot about that. Yeah. That's why.
So all those things happen, and that's why reading is like a foreign language. Like there's another thing where if you try not to see what they're showing you, they might just try to show you anyways. But what's happening, it's like a conveyor belt, right? Of these scenes you're in. And if you try not to see and like refuse, like, some nights I just can't deal with seeing where a body is or something. And so I'm like, no, they try to shove it in there. They try to shove it, and it all gets jammed together. So it's like a foreign language.
Okay. I believe it.
So let's see, where is there more?
Do you mind if I play real fast on a clip that I found very interesting from what you sent me?
Sure.
So that you could explain what you make of it? Okay. Just 1 second. Let me pull it.
I see him calling a friend, and the friend has a truck. So I'm seeing the truck has a rack. I don't know if that's the proper word, but it's like a rack looks like the frame for a canopy. It's not a canopy, but like the frame that on work trucks, sometimes they have that frame that goes up and then people hang equipment off it. It's like all the way around. A truck like that. That's what I'm seeing. Oh man. Okay, so I'm seeing him put in a hole, and I'm seeing translucent construction workers.
Construction workers. That's what I wondered about, because there's always been talk from the get-go about, construction zones and construction workers and stuff. You just talked about, do you think there's any relation to that construction site that was by the house? What do you make of that?
I don't really know, but I do know that the very dark green truck flashes after the word Allen wrench. Okay. And that there was that frame on it that construction workers sometimes have where they hang stuff, Yeah. Like if you were a pool person, you might like hang your stuff.
Like a rack? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I do know that. And see, that's what I'm talking about, translucent. So say in the Summer Wells case, I saw a translucent steamboat. Yeah. Okay. And then later looking through Candace's photos of when she took her kids to WonderWorks, there's actually, they took a photo and there in the sign is a translucent, not translucent, there's a big billboard of a steamboat.
Yeah, that was weird.
And this is where I'm saying I'm seeing the predator there to look at summer, right?
Yeah.
So that's when they show me something translucent, I know it's going to be something like that. So like also an example is Dulce Alaves. I saw a translucent train, and it turned out when I located the place I believe she was brought to, there was a kitty corner. Someone had taken one train car and turned it into a hot dog stand.
Huh.
You see, so it wasn't an actual train.
Right.
And then I also saw a sailboat on a bay. And I kept trying to tell these people that were sleuthing it that that doesn't mean it's a literal sailboat, because then they wouldn't listen to me. They would only go to the bays. And it turns out the empty warehouse that I found where I believe this missing child was brought to, across the street on the pillar was a mosaic of a sailboat on a bay. And like every single thing from my reading I found with a 360-degree view around, but the level of translucency that they show me when they're doing that also helps me interpret what it might be.
Right. Okay.
You see?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then I just want to see if there's any that I didn't go about.
Right.
The other couple men that I saw present, again, I'm not positive it was one or two, but I think there was a couple other present. I didn't see their faces.
Okay.
It's just the one with the tooth and the woman in the house. And I saw her, but I have an idea who that is, but I'm not actually 100% sure.
Okay.
Like, it could be her or her daughter. I don't know. It's one of them, though.
Right.
Okay. And I have my guess, but I'm not even sure enough to, like, make a call on that.
Yep.
But I know she was there. I know she knew. I know she was part of it. And I know she didn't bother her. These people are just really vicious people.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see if there's any. Yeah. And then, okay, so on that chart I sent you,
Yes.
I'm sure the arch was about that kid who fell in the river. Because I'm seeing an arch that looks like under a bridge, but I don't see the top of the bridge. But then when I listened to it again, was his name Riley Gaines? I can't remember.
That was his name. Yeah.
So I'm sure that 99% applied to that, and it's possible the Indian and turquoise could apply to that too. I don't know though. I don't know what that applied to. Which reading? See, it's like ideally I would be able to have the time just to sit there and organize all this stuff and do more readings, but I would try to answer emails and try to
I know.
make a video and
right.
and do more readings for people. And I am not doing. Okay, let's see. Yeah, those are basically the things. This Maplewood thing is definitely in there though.
It's a real question mark, I think.
And the beating is in everyone. The blunt force trauma is in everyone, and the people involved is in all of them.
Horrible.
Yeah.
So one of these clips, and I don't think maybe we did briefly touch on this already, but you said Sebastian's mad, and it's like he gets into a fight with mom, and then he takes off out the door. I think you question, you say, is he going to hitchhike? Do you remember you said that, Donna?
Yeah, and that's what confuses me. Like, did he take off? And this had to have been all planned, carefully planned with all these people. So, but did something like this happen?
Like days before?
Yeah, like, especially, or even the day, like she said, oh yeah, in a couple hours, so-and-so is going to pick you up and you're going to go with them. And then they got in a fight, and I don't know because it's like one scene and then another scene, and I actually don't even have the original. Yeah. I don't have the original reading. I just know that I saw what led to his death. If my visions are correct, again, if my visions, I'm not telling people not to hold out hope, but what I am telling people is the focus needs to be on figuring out where all those people were the entire night, and then locating probably the remains. So they go to prison. The point of it is, like, if someone says, well, why is she talking about this? Why not give up hope? I'm saying these people need to go to prison. We need to see the news with 5 mugshots.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Conspiracy. Mm-hmm. Right.
Oh, and one of them, someone just said, are they going to get arrested? Well, check this out. And one of them, I'm saying that the police do have an idea of this, and they even have some ideas of where to look, and that they're just waiting for a little more evidence or something. I don't know. Well, I think they have. I can't see that this group of idiots,
Yeah.
All agreed and didn't bring their cell phones. And the reason I say that is, why would you make the kid disappear on the anniversary of your divorce? Come on, Katie, come on.
That's a trip. And it's like, obviously something big happened, because you think about it, things done in secret, you want to stay under the radar. You're going to do them at night, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to park a car right there in front of the home where cameras can get it. It's just like everything was done so deliberately, so well thought out, so carefully crafted, every part of this.
So I mean, in that case, if they may have used burner phones, but it's like, how does Kathy Bowersox happen to run into Katie Proudfoot at 5 or 6 in the morning after Sebastian's missing? She just happens to be, Kathy Bowersox just happens to be in the neighborhood at 5 or 6 a.m.
Well,
to go back.
Yeah.
Tell me.
I understand, I think she came to the home very shortly after they report Sebastian missing. But I have heard what you're talking about too.
Oh, so you're not sure? Are we not sure?
That's been speculation. It could be true. I don't know personally, but I do know that she was at the house shortly after he was.
Yeah, and why is she up? Why is she even up at 5 or 6 in the morning over in that neighborhood?
I know. And you know what I have a huge problem with, Donna, is like these individuals we are talking about cryptically, somewhat cryptically, they don't ever talk about Sebastian on Facebook. If somebody's important to you, somebody in your family has vanished, wouldn't you be just like constantly putting their flyer out, putting pictures of them? Oh my gosh, please spread the awareness, something. There's no mention. It's like radio silence.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. Instead, Terry Bowersox goes into the Sebastian Facebook group on a regular basis and insults anybody who talks about Sebastian. He also insults all YouTube creators. He insults anyone trying to solve this case.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to stop people from solving this case? And
another thing I have a problem with is the trip to Alaska, like within a week of Sebastian disappearing. What's so pressing that you have to take off while your whatever you want to call grandson, we'll just say grandson, is missing? Like nothing's that important. I cannot imagine my mom dipping out, leaving town while my son or daughter's missing. That it doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense.
The way it makes sense is if we leave town, they can't question us while we still have a bunch of adrenaline in our body, and they might pick up on our nervousness. So we're going to leave town until we've calmed down and we can get it together to share our fake story or whatever.
I agree. And there are certain people in the drama community that do nothing but drum up shit, for lack of a better word, about this case. And the thing is they're sycophants for the Proudfoots, but then they know they're being used to get the narrative out that the Proudfoots want out. So in other words, they're just kind of used as little pawns or whatever. And
because they're getting super chats, they're getting memberships, they're making, they can make $1,000 on a live stream.
Absolutely.
Okay. And if they have such little moral value, you should unsubscribe and not be a member, because Seth is a victim. He's looking for his son. Sebastian is a victim. Why these callous, cruel people are trying to encourage that, and I'm talking about his family, right? They're trying to encourage everyone to look everywhere except at them. And, even look at Bullhorn Betty. It's like people like her or they don't. I don't even care. Why they get a restraining order? It's like, I saw her video. That guy got out of his car, Terry Bowersox, and tried to intimidate her. And it's like, why should there be a restraining order against her? You know, she's got some serious kahunas to go there and deal with these things.
Right.
You know, I don't know what's going on now. I know that was a few months ago. Oh, this is what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
So for any of the people who are afraid of saying what they think, because the Bower Sox want to file lawsuits against everyone who talks about them, let me tell you this. If someone files a civil lawsuit against you, you have certain rights, and they have no Fifth Amendment. So you have the right to send something called interrogatories. You can send unlimited questions. They're required to answer if they want the lawsuit to continue, which is, they could send you over 100 questions, and you have no choice. You have to answer all of them truthfully. If you get caught lying, it's going to get tossed. If they don't answer them, it's going to get tossed. So in ways, if they did file a lawsuit against Bullhorn Betty, if they filed an actual lawsuit, she can turn around, use that to her advantage, send them a couple hundred questions. Okay. Have you ever bought a burner phone? Where were you at 4 a.m. that day? Et cetera, et cetera. And then if it comes out anything wrong, that lawsuit's going to get tossed. But beyond that, you get a second thing. It's called a deposition. You can sit there across the table. You can even say you're representing yourself, and you can deposition them for 1 day, 2 days, 8. I sued the man who killed my brother. Okay. That's how come I know about this. And they sent me all these interrogatories where I have no choice. My dog's under the table pulling the tablecloth. They sent me them. I know all about it. I've been involved in lawsuits before. And the thing that I did when they knew the person who shot my brother in the chest, but they said there wasn't enough evidence for court, because the reality is the Spokane prosecutors told me they could only afford to prosecute 1 or 2 cases a month. They know my brother was murdered. They know who did it, but they said we have to pick the couple where we're more likely to get conviction. Like, that's the reality of the injustice system for victims.
Totally.
And so I filed a civil lawsuit. And in a civil lawsuit, there's no Fifth Amendment right to be silent.
Yeah.
If you're accusing them of a crime, they can lawyer up and say, I don't have to answer. If you're in a civil lawsuit with them, they have to answer. So I don't know who they filed a civil lawsuit against, if anybody, some YouTuber, or was it Bullhorn Betty? I don't know. All I know is use it to your advantage. Contact me. I will help you with the questions that you need to send them as an interrogatory.
That's so
all of them.
I'm glad you're telling us about this, because I okay.
So there's one thing, you don't want to like accuse somebody of something, you know, because it's just not right. But the other time, I just heard, you know, I don't watch most of these other YouTubers' live streams.
Yes.
Just because it's so many hours, and I'm working on other cases too and stuff like that. But I just like heard whispers that there's some kind of legal stuff, like, oh, they're threatening to sue anyone who talks about them and stuff like that. Well, trust me, if they filed anything against you, contact me, because I'll help you put together a couple hundred questions for them.
That would be really something, wouldn't it? Wow.
Yeah, it would be. Okay, sorry.
I love when you start doing the drops of knowledge without being so overt, but yet you're overt about it. It's so funny. I try to restrain myself. I am actually a real reverend, and I just haven't been super active at church, and I think it shows. And doing all these murders, kind of like, I think even with Lori, it's like all of a sudden I was swearing again. You know, I'd quit swearing, and I was all proud that I'd like gotten this all love in my heart. And then I do the Lori Vallow case, and I'm like, you know, it's just like, you see a child murdered, no matter who you are, you can get pretty darn angry. I can't even imagine how you channel these, right? Because I personally don't think I could stand to see a child, you know, be harmed in any way. So how you do it is amazing.
This brings to a point is the spirits, the angels and the spirit guides. and when on the Lori Vallow case, what they told me was part of that proof was, okay, there's finding the body. I'm getting chills now. I forgot about this.
Yeah.
the spirit lady at the beginning of this, with Tylee Ryan of Lori Vallow's daughter, told me that half of what I was doing was to make sure the bodies were found, and half of what I was doing was to prove the afterlife.
Yeah.
So the spirit people want everyone out there to know that they're there, that you all have spirit guides, you all have angels. And what they do when I go to do a reading is they just surround me in like loving energy. And it's so when I'm seeing this, it's not usually traumatic. It's more after I listen to it. After it's over and I listen to it, and I'm like, and then I'm seeing it in my mind again. That's part a little traumatic. Okay. But the while I'm doing it, it's I'm being bathed in their energy. The energy of the heavenly realm is just like peaceful and loving, and so that's why it's from the spirit people.
Okay, which makes it more tolerable.
However, I had a mental breakdown after watching Audrey because she looked so much like my daughter. I did. I bawled my head off for 2 days for Audrey, and I kept crying, and I was so panicky, I couldn't even edit the reading, and then I was crying and begging them to never show me a child murdered again.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So I think I saw a lot about Sebastian, but I didn't see his actual last breath.
Okay. Gotcha. Wow. It's intense. You talked about the truck. Do you feel that if you saw this truck that like there was something so notable about it, you could?
Yeah, it didn't look like a news truck. I can't remember anymore. Like there's some things I can't remember actually independently. It seemed like a little bit older, like a construction worker. But they could have taken it off by now. I just felt like there was a connection between that truck and the property where they took Sebastian to.
Yeah.
Not that they took him in the truck.
Okay.
But it was more like a feeling of rather than seeing.
Okay.
Do you see? So there's levels. There's like where you see it or where you feel it or whether you just wonder, like that.
Yes. And I think that Allen wrench thing is important, like the name, maybe? Is that what
it comes up? It comes up. I don't even know what an Allen wrench is. It comes up right before the truck. Let me see what an Allen wrench looks like.
So maybe the owner's name is Allen. Or
it could be. It could be. And it could be related to the name of a street someone lives on. It could be related to the shape of something. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
What was that street, Donna? Hold on. In the Lori Vallow case, you kept saying it and saying it and saying it, but you didn't know it was a street. What was
that? Pisses me off so bad.
Yeah.
It was Trapper Lane. Trapper. So the Trapper didn't come through in the first 2 readings I did by myself. And then one of the family members in the Lori Vallow case contacted me. And every single reading after that, the Trapper looked like a Daniel Boone. I mean, I'm like, like with the whole thing, with the hat, with the furs, pulling a sled of furs. And I'm like, oh, and there comes the Trapper right across the scene, every single reading, right? And during that time, when I was trying to sleuth the case, I literally have talked on the phone with almost every neighbor in Chad Daybell's neighborhood.
I know you have. Yeah.
And none of them told me that just the first street from Chad's house is called Trapper Lane.
That's so trippy.
But what infuriates me is it's not on Google. So I could spend as much hours as I want on Google, and legally that name was changed to a number.
Right.
But after it was over, somebody sent me a photograph of the sign that is still left up, and it says Trapper Lane. And they said all the locals still call it Trapper Lane, even though the government changed it to a numbered street. Mm-hmm. And so that was a major clue where if I was going to work on a case, if I got on a plane within a week or so and flew to the area, I would have just been, boom, boom, boom. Like that, instead of spending, 3-4 months doing readings like that.
I know, and you did so many for that case, like at least 12, I think, right?
Something like that. But so
Wow.
a lot of readings I did for that. So but it didn't show up as a street, right? It showed up as this Daniel Boone character walking across every time.
So weird.
Yeah, isn't that strange? But
But
that's important in
yeah,
understanding, and I think it's a great example in understanding how to
it is.
apply the clues.
I totally agree. And that's why I bring it up is like you're saying these things like Maplewood and steadfast, these very notable words. Okay. So somehow they fit into the equation. It's a matter of where and how that we don't really know. But
Right.
Donna could figure it out, I think.
Well, law enforcement could figure it out,
And
like
law enforcement, yeah. For sure.
especially the FBI, because they have, I think, pretty advanced ways of seeing where people's cell phones were.
For sure.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, you know what? We were talking at the beginning of the live stream about playing. You wanted me to play some clips, right? I did do some screen recording, and this was an interesting thing that came up about 2 months ago. And a lot of the people listening might already know about this, but whatever, you'll listen to it. So what it is there were a number of people on a live stream right before Christmas, and there's a guy whose channel, he was the channel owner, and his name is Elevated Truth, and he had a bunch of panel guests on, and he was talking about the different discrepancies and stuff in this case, in Sebastian Rogers' case. And so he started talking about a point in time where Chris had sort of mocked the fact that his Wi-Fi system from his truck had somehow like evaded the geofencing that was done in the area.
Wow.
So I want to play this clip for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. I want to hear that. I haven't heard it before.
Yeah, let me make sure. Let me mute out just one second. I want to make sure this is the best one. Hold on one sec. Okay.
What we're doing up here.
Okay.
Right.
The point of this situation is that all of the
If somebody could put his channel in for me, Elevated
all
Truth.
of it. The putting shit behind the scenes for creators to talk about. Seth needs to stop it. Chris and Katie need to stop it.
Well, hold on. We'll stop there because we ain't putting stuff out behind the scenes.
Bullshit.
Chris, can I? What are we putting
Bullshit.
behind the scenes?
Chris, don't put me in this position. Don't do it. Do not pull my man card, Chris.
I don't know what that
pull my
means.
man card and put me in this position.
I ain't pulling anybody.
Chris, I'm gonna ask you one more time. Do not put me in this position.
Well, the way you're making it sound is a little odder than it may be true. So maybe instead of getting like that with him, because he may not know what you're referring to, because to be
Yes, he does.
but it's for Sebastian, right?
I'm not up here to have an issue with you, Chris. I just sat here and said, I don't think you have anything to do with the disappearance of your stepson. But do not put me in the position of you saying that there's not shit being pushed behind closed doors when you know damn well there has been.
Oh, hang on. I'm getting a phone call. Let me X out of it. Okay, hold on. Is it still going?
I'm gonna tell you right now. There ain't a thing out there that we're afraid of. Hold on. Because this isn't about fucking size. Once again, when all these creators can get past this shit and finally focus back on Sebastian.
He beat the geofencing.
Yeah, this is the clip where the creators are actually talking about it. Hopefully you guys can hear this okay, because some people are saying they couldn't hear it. Please let me know if you can hear it okay.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna bring Chris up. So here we go.
All right.
What's up?
Can you hear me?
Hold on, is it this clip?
I don't think I understand what you're.
Okay, it's this clip. I'm sorry, guys.
You're saying that's why I'm calling. I'm sorry. I don't get it. He's supposedly on the night that Sebastian disappeared. You know, they go through and they check like all the Wi-Fi. There's only 2 Wi-Fi's that came in that area and left that area. Like 2 open networks, 2 traveling Wi-Fi came in and left.
Okay.
Donna, are you hearing this okay? Or is it garbage?
Yeah, it's pretty gargly.
Really? Oh, what a shame.
Yeah.
Okay. So to translate, what they're saying is there were 2 known Wi-Fis that came in that area. And so, what's his name? Chris was sort of cocky and boastful about it. I guess at one point said, those mother effers didn't even know that my Wi-Fi was like in the area. It's something to that effect. And he was real braggadocious about it.
I know.
And it upset this guy. What's his name? Hold on. Elevated Truth is his name.
Yeah. You know, another statement he made was, if you guys knew what Sebastian was really like, you wouldn't even try to find him.
Yes. That is so troublesome. Something happened. There's something that happened that was big enough to make them say, okay, we have to put him in a different housing situation, right? And you were never told what that situation was, were you, Donna? I know I wasn't told.
No, but on the noise out there on the internet, I don't know if it's true or not. Weren't they saying that they thought that Sebastian exposed himself to faith or something like that? And
there was speculation. I don't know though. I don't know.
Yeah, and so I don't have any firsthand knowledge of it, but yeah, they wanted to get rid of him. You know what? I'm getting a little tired.
I know, me too, Donna. How about this? So we were going to talk about Idaho 4, but we can always do that another time. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Too. Okay.
Yeah, it's almost 2 hours. So, and we don't want to drown out the actual information here, but yeah, Chris has made some strange statements in the last year for someone who's wanting to pretend they're innocent or to have people perceive him as innocent. He sure says some strange things. Out of their way to try to control the narrative and trying to deflect onto Seth. So let's put it back to, where was Sebastian when he went missing, and where were these 5 people all night long?
Yeah, that's okay.
And only the police really know. We're never going to know where all these people were all night, but these are the people, and hopefully the FBI has all their cell phones and maybe knows more than we do.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, Donna, I'm going to let you go. I'm not feeling the greatest either, but I want to say thank you so much for coming on today and talking about this. I know it's not easy to talk about, but nobody does it better than you, in my opinion.
Thank you.
You do such a great job. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you so much
Really
for
appreciate
the audience here. And I missed a few little super chats that came along. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to get to them. It's just Donna was mid-sentence and I don't want to interrupt her when she's going. But thank you so much for doing that, guys. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Oh, and if you guys can click the like, that's the only thing we ask. Thank you.
And subscribe.
And subscribe. Subscribe to Donna. Her link is in the information box. So go subscribe to her. Okay,
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Donna. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, guys.